Hello everybody, I'm here with another watercolor tutorial, and this time I'm going to teach you guys about painting with a line drawing. And this is just going to be my own opinion on how to do it. There's like so many ways you can do this, okay? You can incorporate some line, you can align everything. You just do it how you want. I'm just showing you one way. And I prefer to use micron pens because they are waterproof and archival. Archival means that it lasts years and years and years and years and years, like you know, museum quality. It's not going to just fade fast like really cheap markers or cheap watercolors do. These are Japanese markers, and you want to let them dry before you start painting, because if you just quickly sketch it out and then you smear some water on it, it will smear your ink. So don't do it too fast. Make sure it's dry. I mean, go over it with a blow dryer if you have to. When you do a line drawing, it's what my teacher used to call, my art teacher, he called it line-driven art. Meaning, if your line art looks good, the paint will look good because it's the focus is the line. The way I like to do line is when I paint it, I don't go too heavy on the paint. So I let the line be the focus and the paint will just be very light and more watered down. You can have some darker spots, but that's how I like to work with line. So I just make really soft washes with my line. And I like to use 01. Don't use Sharpies. Those will bleed. Not any marker will work for this. So the two things I know that will work are micron pens and India ink. India ink comes in a bottle like this, but you're gonna have to use a brush. And I'm a little better with using a pen. That's how small my tip is. You can have thicker lines, thinner lines. Mixture of both is the best. You want to have a reference picture, and as you can see, my drawing is quite different than my reference picture because, you know, you don't always copy a reference exactly, especially if it's one that's not, if it's copyrighted, you know. I got this from Pixabay, and Pixabay, you can just use their images for whatever you want. But you know, I did not like how any of them were formatted, so I just created my own. And it might be something that you need to practice with. You might prefer to do little oh, I just did a mistake. Okay. There we go. You might prefer to be heavier handed than me. You have your own style. And I was sick of hearing that in art school, okay? It's like, be quiet about finding your own style. I was so stressed out about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting my own style. But guess what? It's just something you already have. Like, you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to think about having your own style. It's just there, okay? Unless you're trying really hard to be like someone else, don't even think about it. So these mushrooms we're doing, have I mentioned? We're doing mushrooms today. I just get so lost in my head. My line is dainty, and that's why I kind of need to go light with my watercolors, so then like you don't defeat the whole purpose of doing the line. And These are called fly agaric mushrooms. I kind of looked up some things about them because they're kind of interesting little mushrooms. I mean, look at them. Does that look like something you're supposed to be eating? But people still eat them. It's illegal to sell them, but people still eat them. Crazies. Because they have some psychedelic effects, but the effects are so extreme that people should not be eating them. I mean, I'm not a real big supporter on eating psychedelic things, period. But these especially are like, no. But I thought it was interesting just to read about. I mean, when you're painting something, if you research it, it makes your art so much more interesting to do because you're really involved in it. You're not just like, oh, I'm just gonna paint this thing. Like, you're really learning and growing, acquiring knowledge. Like, ooh, I'm not just painting a mushroom, I'm painting a fly agaric mushroom. And this mushroom makes people, let's see, dreamlike state, but you know, a very extreme state. Blurring of the senses, smelling words or tasting colors. Okay, like, I don't really know. That kind of sounds dangerous. Don't eat these. Oh, if you eat the wrong one in this family, you can die. And if you eat the right one, you'll still get really bad things because you get blurred vision. Let's see, talking to yourself. Well, you can do that anyways without taking mushrooms. Pretty much I'm talking to myself right now. And as you can see, I'm doing little lines. That gives your drawing texture. And underneath the mushrooms, you know, you got the little ridges, the little line ridges. You know, I probably should close up right now. Here we go. Bam. Here we are. So I got the little underside texture. It's kind of curled, so I'm going curled. It's very relaxing to paint kind of naturey things that are less, you know, concentrated. For me, at least. You guys are like, I've never done a mushroom before. Practice, okay? I've done some mushrooms in the past. They weren't very beautiful at all, so I'm a little ahead of the game. This is another attempt at mushrooms. When you like draw things like dots, you don't want them all to be the same space and the same size. Look at this mushroom right here. See how there's different spacing, different sizes, different shapes? That gives your art variety and it's more interesting. See, some of them might be real close together. Some of them might be further apart. You might go back and be like, oh, gotta break some of these shapes up. Because this one is same, in a line. So I added some in between to kind of break that up. I like how this cute little guy is turning out. I'm gonna do some grass too, so I'm kind of leaving where I sketched the grass. I'm not coming all the way down. And mushrooms kind of have, sometimes, not in this picture, but you can see like these little top pieces coming out, like a little skirt thing. That kind of looks cool, so I'm gonna put that in. And then instead of keeping my mushroom blank, I like to add some texture. Mushrooms aren't just these things that are just perfectly smooth without any texture on them, so I add the texture. Ta-da! And I also don't like to just draw a straight line all the way across. I'll be like, whoosh, 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 whoosh. See how it's like, you know, got some character to it. I don't really know how to describe that. Oh yeah, I was gonna tell you some of the other bad things, so people aren't like, oh, she's making these sound very fun, I'm gonna go eat some. No, don't do it, because you can get, oh, this is not like a maybe, this is quite common to get nausea and stomach cramps. That doesn't really sound very fun. You want nausea and stomach cramps? I don't. Ugh. It's not worth it, guys. Clumsy, dizzy, more likely to injure yourself. Please don't eat these, guys. Paint them, but don't eat them. They're red with bright white spots for a reason. Okay? Okay. Hope we're on the same page now. Probably. Okay. So I'm going to make the rest of this sped up. And then after that, I'll tell you guys how I'm gonna paint it. So I erased my pencil lines and now I'm gonna work on the background. And I want the background to be nice and light. So I am putting water down first. And I want my foreground to be a little darker. I'm just coming down slightly into the horizon line. Coming around the edge of my mushrooms. Come on, little. Sometimes you get little hairs and you pick them up. Just pick them up with your brush. Or you can wait until it dries and pick them out. As long as it's not a heavy paint, you'll be fine. But I just like to pick them out anyways. So I got this round little background I'm gonna do. You can kind of see it. I have an azo yellow. Make them a little wetter. Now throwing some color in. Look at that. Bam. Azo green. And just throwing them around. Not sure how I feel about this, but you know. Once you make a decision in watercolor, stick with it, okay? See it out till the end. I've decided to use yellow and brown. Gonna stick with it, okay? Oh, not yellow, it's a green. And I also want to throw some regular green in there, permanent green light. Let's see, put it down in here a little bit. And you know what, I also need to have some green down here so that my grass on top can be darker. So I'm just going to paint some of my grass. Just paint it in there. I want it to kind of fade up. Going over there. Picking up water. Want it to be nice and light. Look how cute it looks. Little mushrooms. It's a mushroom family. And I like want that background to be more textured. Maybe I will take my paper towel, make it into a little sharp point, and kind of texturize the background. It's hard for me to do tutorials because I like to do things on the spot. Every time I paint, it's gonna be different because I just, you know, make different decisions based on a whole bunch of factors. And I just really wanted that to be a little different. I don't like how this edge is coming straight down. So I'm gonna soften it a little bit and then pick it up a little bit. And now I don't like what I did there, so I'm gonna bring back a little bit of that yellow. Do you know what? Now I think I like it a little more. Wow, it probably looks exactly the same as it did before. Whatever. Okay, so now I'm gonna do some of the red. Nope, we're not gonna do the red yet. We're gonna do some of the, what are these called? The stems? The bottom of the mushroom. I'm not familiar with mushroom anatomy. Let me tell you guys a secret. I do not like mushrooms at all. I'm like the green eggs and ham guy, except I never got converted. So I'm just gonna use some of these colors that I'm already using. I'm just gonna water them down a lot. So kind of that yellowy brown, mixing them all together. Some of them together and watering them down. Looking at these guys, I'm kind of wanting to do get some more brown on my palette. Kind of wanting to do darker where it's right under this, we'll call it a flap, under the flap. That sounds so weird. I'm gonna do really, really light colors. I don't know why I'm whispering, because I'm making it light. Therefore, I need to be painting light. I mean, talking light. Okay, I can't, sometimes it's hard to talk and paint at the same time, okay? Don't judge me. Okay, right under this, the top of the mushroom, I'm gonna call it a bulb. Right under the bulb is gonna be darker, but see, I kind of already have water going on, so I'm gonna let it dry before I add a darker layer. I usually do a lot of layers when I do watercolors or any kind of painting. I'm the layer master. That's my title. I don't have my reference for what that looks like. I'm pretty sure it's a little gray in there. Might mix a little gray into my brown. Kinda. Just put a light wash at first. I might come back. Okay. I'm gonna do some of the red tops. I got cadmium red light, and I always like to mix that with one of my other reds, alizarin crimson or quinacridone rose. I like to mix it with alizarin crimson. It's what I do. Okay, that's just what I do. Personal preference. You find that out through experience. Okay, this is gonna be harder. If you wanted, you could just paint it all red and then do white with something else. But I decided to make this very difficult. And so I am going to paint the reds. I'm just gonna paint it in. And you know what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna speed this up so you don't have to watch me paint the whole thing. So here I am, the world's longest mushroom tutorial. I made it kind of darker over here because this one's in front and this one's behind, and I want this one to go more forward. You know, you don't want your reds or your whatever your color is to be the same everywhere. You want it in nature. If you look at something, it's not the same shade of red all over. It's different shades. It's got some orange at the bottom, so I was like, I'm gonna put some orange at my bottom, and then I'm gonna go back with some more red and kind of have some darker areas. And so if I look over here, you can see kind of the bottom and the sides. So to make mine kind of pop, I'm gonna do some dark sides. Not as dark as that one's always gonna be darker, so I'm gonna have him have another layer. You come in, I'm using alizarin crimson for this, and kind of just adding some darker areas to give some depth. And I might have to lighten up some areas if I can. Just experimenting. Okay. And this guy down here, I had him have some different red as well. I had more cadmium red on this guy. So you decide where you want the sun to hit on your little dudes. I don't know why I call them little dudes. That's just, you know, some people call things her and I call them him most of the time. That's just what I do. Call them little dudes. See how I'm just going around with my brush and making little texture, dark textures where I want things. Like these little spot things stick out, so I might go under some of them with my dark color. It's whatever you want to do, okay? But just know you want to have some darks and lights somewhere. So you can see I kind of have the sun come in this way. Sound effects help you know where the sun is coming from. So whenever you have the sun hit, there's gonna be shadow. Right. That's my lesson about shadows. I know I'm like not the greatest teacher. That's okay. This is fun though. It's fun to paint things like this because like if you paint a face, wow, you can mess it up so easily. You mess it up and it's just, everyone can tell. But if you make a mistake on a mushroom, it's a lot harder because mushrooms just inherently look kind of funny. Okay, they're proud. They're proud to look weird. Get some of that orange color. I just like to go back and I'll just keep layering and layering until I am where I want to be. I really want that to be darker. I might grab some of blue. Sometimes it just doesn't matter what blue, but blues can help darken your shadows. Look at that. If that's not a shadow, I don't know what is. Might want that to be, you know, more out. It's feeling a little unbalanced. Okay, I think I'm liking where this is going now. Wow, this is gonna be the world's longest mushroom video. I already said that. So you're gonna decide, do you want your grass to come be lighter or darker? If you want it to be lighter, then you take your darker green and that you're gonna mix up and you put it behind your blades. If you want them to be darker, you just paint them in. I've done both ways. Just whatever you want that to be. Mixing my greens, both my greens together, my azo and my cadmium green, just to get this cool little in between green, I don't know what else to call it. And then I'm going to paint the blades. So I'm probably gonna do this in several layers. Sometimes I might throw some orange in there and then you find out, oh, it turns it kind of brown, doesn't it? You learn. You learn, guys. Oh! Got some color down there. That was an accident. So, painting my grass. A little relaxing little picture. Thinking about having variations, not having everything be the same color, the same shade, the same stroke. Shade means the color. The shade of red, you know, different shades of red, different shades of green. Some greens have more yellow in them, some have more blue in them, some have some brown in them. Going around, just some has more water in it, some has less water in it. How exciting is this? Wow. If you're the right person, this is super exciting, okay? It doesn't get more exciting than this. Here we are. And, fun fact, complementary color scheme going on, red and green. You can paint a picture like this and be like, oh, here's a painting I did of mushrooms. It's got red and green, complementary color scheme. People will be like, ooh, fancy. We've got a fancy person in the house. And then they will clap. Not really. You know what? If they're your true supporters, they will. So, you know, I'm thinking about how I did a shadow over here, and I kind of want to use some of that same blue I picked up, which happens to be ultramarine. That's just the one. I don't really always know my color names. I'll just look at it and I know it by sight, if that makes sense. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I want that one. And so I'm gonna get really, really light with my blue. I'm gonna come under here. Ooh. See, I'm gonna have to do another. Remember, your shadow underneath is technically supposed to be darker than what's on top. Just gonna do a little bit down here. I don't really want it to be blue down there. So, I'll just keep layering my watercolors. And like, I don't have a plan like, oh, I'm gonna have to do this many. Like, I just do it until it looks right. So I'll keep going until I like what's happening. I don't usually have a background so like just one color. I mean, but I probably should just leave it, you know. I don't know why I keep freaking out about that. I'm gonna go in with some more brown on my little lines that I painted, I drew on my mushrooms without touching that blue. So, getting some texture in there. Then I'm actually gonna put some brown right here. If you look at my picture, do you see how dark it gets right there? Pretty dark. Pretty dark, guys. Sometimes if you squint your eyes, you can tell. So if you squint your eyes at your reference photo, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's actually the darkest dark of the whole mushroom is right there. And so you can try to make it that dark all at once, or you can just layer, wait, layer, wait, layer, and wait. That's the song of my people. Layer and wait. It's the song of my people because I say it is. Don't judge me. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be longer than all my other tutorials. Okay, feeling my grass, and I'm like, ooh, gonna do another layer. Mixing my greens again while I wait for some of these other things to dry. I'm gonna go back and I'm going to, I'm also very indecisive. It's hard for me to paint quickly, so I apologize, it's so long. So I'll just go and eyeball what I want to do. Be like, oh, kind of want that grass to look like that. I don't always really know what I'm doing, but that's okay. Okay. Sometimes you know what you're doing and sometimes you don't. Right now in that area, I don't think I liked what I did. I might do that. Yeah, I might do that. Might get in a little bit darker, getting into the dark zone. This makes me so nervous sometimes. I have to make decisions in front of you guys. Sometimes I'm just, oh, so indecisive with my painting. I like to use my fingers too. I don't know if I like how this one just coming out like that, but that's what I did. I can't always explain what I'm doing. I just do it, you know? And it helps to look at real grass and kind of see the varieties going on. See, it's darker over here and then it's light, and it's darker right here and then it's light right there. You can kind of look at that for reference instead of sometimes painting grass from your mind like I do. It's not always the best thing to do. Or I should say it's not usually. I just like my grass to have a lot of variety. I want it to look like a fun times happening. Like, whoa, look at that grass. It's so much going on, but really there's not. do the same over here. Ooh, see that bit of dry brush going on. Other people will be like, ooh, I do grass like this. This is how I do grass. And I'll be like, whoa, I kind of don't do things the same way every time I do it. It's just very, I can be very inconsistent. There's a secret about me. Inconsistent. Okay. See, it's not looking too bad. Okay, my grass tends to be messy, but you know, grass is really messy in real life unless you cut it really short. Here we are with our little mushroom family. I'm gonna have some of that dark color coming back. I'm gonna mix some of my brown and my blue together because I really want this to be the darkest right here. See that? Beautiful. Beautiful. When you have shadows, it makes your paintings pop. See that? See how much dimension we're getting? Gonna have to fix that grass a little more, but that's okay. I just got a little carried away is all. So some brown, or what is this, yellow brown? I still want these mushrooms to be light. So what I'm gonna do, I'm coming back there, my little ridges, gonna paint them dark. Gonna bring in some blue and brown. Oops, a little too much brown there. Tried to do tutorials where I'm just like, here's 3 strokes and then you're done, bam. But even when I'm painting something small and simple, I just cannot be fast like those little tutorials I see. Maybe if I was just doing a little line of pine trees, it could be fast. You could do that in like 1 or 2 washes. Even if it's little, I'm like, I want these to be the most beautiful mushrooms ever, okay? And since these, this wraps around this little middle part, I want this to be even darker than this part because this is behind right here. And this is forward. See how that pushed that forward by making it dark right there on the sides of it? That's why you gradually make things darker. Or else this and this and this would all be the same dark and it would not have, what's the word I'm looking for? It would not have dimension. See, my brain does work sometimes. If you want to kind of have some texture, take your dark, bring them around, introduce them to everyone. Okay, the brown blue mixture. How are you? Okay, I think I'm gonna come back with some more green. I'm Again, gonna go bring some blades in that were formerly hidden. See, when you have different layers of grass, they are dimensional. Make them darker as you keep going. I don't like that, so I always have my paper towel. Fixed up what I didn't want. Just going with my dark. Making not all my grass is the same length, the same direction, the same spacing. I just do it differently. Okay, you don't have to do your grass like I'm doing it, okay? This is just how I do my grass. It's hard for me to do things. I said I do my grass differently every time. I said that, didn't I? And that's kind of true. But I kind of also do this layering thing each time. Kind of fiddle with it as I keep going. But I just make different decisions each time. If that even makes sense, okay? So, I might be done. It's hard to know when you're done. It's hard. It's a decision that you make before your piece gets overworked. No one likes their piece to get overworked and look muddy and look gross and just, unless you're painting mud. If you're painting mud, you want it to look muddy, right? But we're not painting mud. Are we? We're not. Okay. I think you listen to me just nonsense talk forever and ever. I hope this video isn't like an hour of me painting mushrooms. We'll see. So, if you want to kind of have a little highlight on your mushroom, first you want to try and see, okay, if you want, maybe a little highlight on the side would look cute. So I'm gonna get some water on my brush and see if I can pull some of that paint out. If you can't, if it's just not happening, this brush usually does it. Oh, you see that? See that stripe? That means it's working. So you want to have a little highlight sometimes. And I'll also have highlights on my little dudes. Okay. I might go in with some white ink, actually. Okay. Oh, you know what? No, it's looking good like that. Mushrooms are usually super shiny, so you know what, I might actually. Oh, there we go. See that? Got it shiny. So have fun, experiment. See what you like to do, and then show me your beautiful, beautiful creation. And I hope you learned something from this. I hope that this is not just me rambling, that people get something out of it. So let me know what you want me to do next video. So one more thing I want to, wow, I just touched wet paint. One more thing I want to tell you guys about is take a break from your paintings. When you paint, you want to paint in like 45-minute to an hour sessions and then take a break. Get away from your painting for like 10-15 minutes and then come back. And then you look at it with fresh eyes and be like, wow, you know, that doesn't look as bad as I thought it did. And then, so over here was a little too, what's the word, like scratchy. It had a bunch of little lines, and I took a wet brush and I blended it. And now I see I kind of have that scratchiness over there, so I just blend it, boop. Then I put in a little more paint down at the bottom, and now I'm happy with it. So that's how you do it, guys.